Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we'll be taking a look at Super Saiyan Future Trunks from the Dragon Ball Super Dragon Star series. He is part of the third wave. He is the first one of the third wave that I've been able to find. I really like this picture here on the side. This side is just kind of the window extending over. Not really much going on the top or bottom. Coming around to the back, you can see Wave 3 or Series 3 is comprised of Super Saiyan Future Trunks, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and Hit. Down here, Wave 4 is going to be Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, and Zamasu. So I've been watching this on Cartoon Network, the dubs that have been airing every Saturday, and I know who these three guys are. And I've heard of Goku Black, but I think we're about to get introduced to Zamasu in the next episode. Actually, it's going to premiere in about 2 days from now as the time of this recording. So the Build-A-Figure for this is going to be Fusion Zamasu, which I have no idea what that is. But it would appear to be basically Zamasu with a crazy giant purple arm. So there's that. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it seems weird to have like the Build-A-Figure be similar to one of the figures in the wave, but I mean, technically, Goku Black is probably going to have similar clothes as well. So you're going to have three figures in this wave that are fairly similar to each other. I mean, it makes sense because they're all, in the same saga together. So I guess it makes sense from that perspective. But I don't know. I was excited to find Trunks. Trunks has always been a favorite of mine. Future Trunks anyway. And you can see he comes with the head for the Fusion Zamasu, so we'll take a look at that too. But decent amount of hands, decent amount of accessories. So let's go ahead and get Trunks out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. So here is Trunks out of the packaging. I kind of feel like his head is kind of like he has no neck, like he's a little too close to his chest here. I wish you could raise the head back a little bit, but you kind of can't. And you can see how it works. I can just pull his head off. You can see how the neck is, and the neck does kind of move. It's like naturally pitched forward, and you can kind of push it back, but it can only go back as far as, the space for the neck to exist in. And then just because I guess the way the head with the hair and everything is shaped, the hole is so recessed back in there that it just kind of naturally makes him like looking down. It's not terrible. I just wish you could push the head back just a little bit. Overall, I think the head sculpt looks fairly decent. I kind of like the look of having the two front strands of hair come down, but I guess they decided to go with them up. I think that is technically how it is on the show, so I can't blame him for that. And he's in his kind of newer look, not the Future Trunks garb from like the Dragon Ball Z series with the start of the Android saga. This is obviously the Dragon Ball Super outfit that he wears for the Goku Black saga, which makes total sense. You can see his clothes are a little ripped up, a little dinged. But overall, I think it's a pretty good looking figure. You can see the spot here on the back to put his scabbard or sheath for his sword. I will say that I think this is a little weird. So you have a version of the sword in the sheath, and you can't take this out or anything. And then you have the sword itself, which the sword itself looks good. Nice silver paint. White hilt. You have the kind of tape around the hilt. I think they did a nice job with the detail. I don't know why they couldn't just give you a hollow sheath and actually have the sword store in here. Because if you look at it, it looks like it would have been able to. I guess, was it too thin? They probably would have had to make it a little thicker, but I feel like I would have been okay with it. I mean, I remember back with the toys that I want to say Irwin made back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. The Trunks with that line, you could put the sword in the sheath. Now, it was kind of a paper thin sword, I will admit that. And this sword definitely seems more sturdy, so I do appreciate that. But I would have been okay with this being a little bit wider if you could have actually put it in here. Or even if just leave the hilt off. Like if you just wanted to have an empty scabbard and you couldn't actually put it in. But it's weird to have him have this on his back and hold the sword, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, even if it was just like this little piece just pegged in here and you could just pop the hilt off and put that separately so that it looked like he had an empty sheath and then was holding the sword, and then when you wanted to put the sword off to the side, you could just peg the little hilt piece in here. And I was kind of hoping that's what it was, but you can tell from the way it's painted that it's one solid piece. There's really no way to pull it apart. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this on his back. And while I do like the look of it, because I love the fact that Future Trunks has a sword, and it pegs on very easily, and it looks good, and I'm happy with it. Just when he's also wielding the sword, it's going to look strange, because it's going to look like he has two swords. So that's like my biggest complaint. That and the neck thing. But the neck thing, I can definitely deal with that. That's not a big problem. The sword thing is still weird to me. Here is the Build-A-Figure piece that he comes with. To me, this looks like that purple sludge from that like 2-episode mini arc where that thing took the form of Vegeta. So I'm wondering if that's going to come back into play and do some kind of merge with him. But he's kind of got the hair of Goku, so I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Time will tell. I'm sure there are people out there who've watched the Japanese version that already know what this is. Don't spoil it for me. I haven't seen it. I'm watching the Cartoon Network Funimation dubs. But you get a lot of different hands here. You get two versions of a version of the hand that can hold the sword. And then he comes with just two balled up fists. So articulation wise, as you've seen, head can go side to side. It's a little loose, but it's not terrible. That neck can go a little bit front to back, but again, because of how the head's molded and the space provided, it's not really moving that much. Shoulders out to the side. You have I guess you obviously can go all the way around as well. You have a bicep swivel. You have two joints in the elbow. Looks pretty good. And then you have the kind of what I like to call figure art wrist, where it's that up and down swivel as well as it can spin around. And then the hands are on ball joints, so you just pop it off and then put in like another fist here. Let's try. For this one, we'll put this hand on. And they pop on pretty easily. So if you want to make it look like... Now, unfortunately, they don't have one where the hand is like up far enough that it looks like he's holding his hand out like this. So I don't really know what you would do with this hand. It's just making a weird pose. Maybe do like two of them together, like he's going to form a ball of energy in between his hands, something like that. But anyway, back to the articulation. There is kind of it's not really a swivel in the waist. It's almost like a weird ball joint, kind of like how the head is on the neck almost. The hip joints are similar to the other ones where you can kind of pull them down a little bit so you can get a little bit more motion out of them. And then you can kind of push them back in when you're not using them. But his don't work as amazingly, unfortunately. They kind of hang out most of the time. And then you can see very nice hidden knee joint. Two joints there in the knee, but because of his pants, they're pretty perfectly hidden. And then you have a ball joint in the ankle. It's actually a little bit more than a ball joint. It's kind of the same joint as the wrist, but just a little bigger. And then done for the ankle. It looks like they should swivel at the boots. They do not. Now I'm going to take this fist off, and I'm going to put this fist on so he can hold his sword. Let's see the best way to do this. It's pretty closed, as you can see. Pretty tight. I guess I'll just have to force that open for a second just to get this in. There we go. So you can see he holds the sword very well because it's a very tight grip and it looks great. It's just weird that he has two swords because he still has the one in the sheath on his back. But overall, I think it's a good looking figure. It's a nice representation of Trunks from the Goku Black Saga. I kind of wish he could look up a little bit higher. The fact that he has to look down, I think, is kind of weird. And I wish you could fix that somehow. And unfortunately, the more I play with it, I feel like the head on the ball joint's getting looser and looser. He's getting to be almost like a bobblehead, which is kind of a bummer. But I really do like the look of the figure. I think they did a nice job. I think the design is nice. I think the head sculpt is good. And I think they did a nice job with the sword. I just, like I said, my biggest complaints, the fact that you can't put the sword into the sheath, or at least unpeg the hilt so you can look like he's drawn his sword, and the weirdness with the neck. I just wish that he could look up a little bit higher. But I really do like all the extra hands you get. I mean, you get 4 extra hands. You get the 2 balled up fists that he comes packaged with. You have the fact that you can put the sword in either hand, and then you have this kind of like summon a ball of energy hand. So you have 3 sets of hands, which is pretty awesome. This Build-A-Figure head, which will come into play more later on. The sword accessories, great. So yeah, like I said, overall, I think it's a good figure. Is it worth the $19.99? Yes, I absolutely think it is. I think if you pick it up, if you're a Trunks fan, you will not be disappointed. I think they did a pretty excellent job, and on a shelf somewhere, he's going to look pretty good. It's just going to look like he has 2 swords. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like and share the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at Super Saiyan Future Trunks from the Dragon Ball Super Dragon Star series. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.